Welcome to the All About Digital Marketing podcast. The show all about
digital marketing.
Digital marketing.
Digital marketing.
Digital marketing.
Brought to you by Social Inc., a digital marketing agency specializing in social media and content marketing for brave brands and forward-thinking SMEs. I'm your host, Chris Bruno, and as always, we're here to bring you the most actionable tips, tricks, tools, and insights to help you achieve more when it comes to your digital marketing. Subscribe to the show and be sure to share with a friend if you found something useful or interesting. You can find all the show notes and more information on www.allaboutdigitalmarketing.co.uk. Kim, thank you very much for joining us today.
Hi there, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. And it's I'm enjoying actually the podcast gives me this amazing opportunity to just start talking to phenomenal people. So it's been a great experience so far, and it continues as well. And that's how we've ended up connected and ended up having this conversation. For everybody out there that doesn't know much about you, that hasn't met you yet, but can you tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got into it?
Yeah, with pleasure. So I'm Kim Emson and I'm an animator. So I help businesses and organizations extend their reach through the power of animation. I like to not only make the animation, but I'm really keen on supporting people and holding sort of a bit of a hand-holding process of getting people to learn how to use the content better and more effectively to get some real results from it, rather than just, we've done the animation now, here you go, hand it over. And I also like working in healthcare quite a lot as well.
Okay. What sort of, there's so many questions. Healthcare animation, talk us through that.
Yeah, sure. So in about 2015, maybe 2014, I started to get a lot more sort of healthcare animations coming through. Some of them were NHS ones, but some of them were health apps and other kind of products that they were trying to either sell to the NHS or sell to the public, to consumers, and sort of up their downloads or whatever. So I've done some content around that, and I kind of was like, I quite like doing this. I think I want to roll with this. And it seemed like a mutual thing because I'd had quite a few in a row, so they were drawn to me too. And I was like, yeah, I think I quite like doing this. There are nice people that are trying to help other people, and I was like, yeah. And like every time someone's watched one of my animation, I'm helping someone else because they're a step nearer to the healthcare they need. It sounds so like twee, but I realised that, after I've done animations where I'm helping to sell more burgers or more coffee. Do you get what I'm saying?
Absolutely. It sounds like there's a feel-good factor there. And like you said, not helping to push obesity with a new burger. Although I've got to be honest, though, we do like doing those sort of briefs as well because it always makes us hungry. Not saying that we're influenced by our own marketing or anything like that, but okay, cool. So talk us a little bit or through a little bit about animation as well. So from my side, obviously, social media content marketing is so important. I believe it's the cornerstone for pretty much, I'd say, every business out there. What sort of animations and what sort of ways can businesses, especially small to mid-sized businesses, how can they get involved and use animation to help boost their business, to help create this content?
This is a very good question. I love it because I think a lot of businesses just think they need a video, any video will do. And actually, you can't just have one size fits all, a video that's going to be the savior of your marketing problems and is suddenly going to be a boost and injection to your marketing. You're going to need to work out really what you want to achieve, some aims and objectives, and create the right kind of animation around that. And obviously, certainly, I know that consistent, regular animated content is the best result, is the best thing, the best solution rather. But obviously there's loads of businesses that perhaps, they're going to want to invest in one animation at a time and build that up slowly, for budget purposes. So of course they're going to be like, well, we can't do that, so we're just going to do one big animation. But no, try and focus on something in particular you want to solve. So it could be you really, really need to attract more web traffic. So you can design a certain kind of animation to do that. Or you might want an animation that will help convert traffic. So if you've already got a good flow of traffic, but you've just not good conversion rates, you could try and design an animation that's very much based on your website to help convert those visitors. And those are two completely, the kind of content you'd include in those two animations is completely different. So you could have, like I say, one to attract or one to explain and convert. But equally, I've worked with some companies, and even some of the healthcare companies I've worked with, that want to do an animation to recruit. So that's obviously people who want to do that have worked out beforehand, a real good aim and objective. So there's not as much of an issue there with someone sort of, you either want to recruit or you don't. So you want a specific animation around that. So that's really good because they've got a really clear objective. And it's obvious that that kind of animation is completely different from an explainer video. So that's fine. So I've done some videos like that. Or you might want to do the kind of videos that educate your audience a bit more and really help build an audience, which would probably, if you were trying to build sort of more of an audience on LinkedIn, or you wanted to build more of an audience on Facebook or something. So again, that is completely different kind of content from an explainer video. So it certainly isn't a case of one animation fits all at all. And maybe some organisations either don't realise that, or they are so perhaps budget conscious and it feels like quite an investment for them that that's the way that they can only think. They can only think about one video to win them all or something like that.
So there's a couple of things that you've said there that completely resonate with me, and also what we talk about a lot, both on this show and also as an agency when we're talking to clients. The first one that you've mentioned there, starting with a clear objective. What's this for? And it's something that sounds crazy. I tell this story quite a bit, but we were on a call with a potential new client. We were talking to them. It's a business that turns over millions of pounds a year. They're doing very well. And they've been using an agency for about 2 years to do all their social media and to keep pushing out content. And I said, well, how's it going? What are you achieving the results that you were setting out to do? And is it working for you? And they were like that. What do you mean? And I was like that. Well, what were the objectives? And, how are you doing compared to that? And literally the call went deadly quiet. And we realized suddenly, this idea of actually doing things for the sake of doing it without that clear objective. So like you just mentioned there, trying to have this one video that captures everything from bringing more people in, educating people, explaining how the product works and selling and converting clients. And you're like that. You can't do everything. One piece of content will never do absolutely everything. And I think that's something that's huge, like you were saying there, depending on what it is that you're actually trying to do, what it is you're trying to actually achieve, that's what's going to dictate what you actually then create. And the second part that you said as well that I think is really, really important, and again, I say this to a lot of companies and businesses, consistency. You mentioned it there, sort of the one-off kind of, budgets. Mm-hmm. And we understand that. Everyone's got budgets and we all have to kind of figure out ways to live within that. But consistently turning up for your audience is probably going to be a 10x factor in comparison to having, like you mentioned, that just one-off video that you try and think is going to solve all your problems, especially for marketing in general. But that consistency is such a huge thing. Did you find that a lot of companies see much better results as soon as they do start doing them consistently?
Yeah, they do. There was, and those that have done it consistently, they still, what's the word I'm looking for? They still commissioned me. That's the word I was looking for, commission. They still commissioned me a couple of times throughout the year. It wasn't like we had to decide all in one go and do it all in one go and commit that way either, So I did about 5 pieces of content at the start of the year and then a bit more later on in the year. And they were building a Facebook presence and it really worked well for them. I think like they increased their profits by 1/3, as well as you could see the evidence on Facebook pages of the engagements and the page likes and stuff like that, that all of that had really increased. But obviously, ultimately at the end, it had increased their profits by 1/3. But they had put in a whole load of effort into all sorts of marketing and were really ignited in committing to their marketing, their new marketing strategy, and actually committing a nice significant budget to that as well. So, and that really made a difference to them.
Yeah, and I think that's something for everyone to kind of bear in mind, starting with a good strategy and being prepared to invest. And not everyone can invest money. We know that, but there's definitely going to be time and resources that you can put in to being able to do that consistently and to get those results over time by putting the work in. Okay, cool. So from your side then, how do you, I'm guessing you're a freelancer, or is it a small agency, like your own agency that you've set up?
Yeah, well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I guess a lot of the time it's partly about how you define yourself or how others perceive you. And I think I defined myself as a freelancer for a while, and probably for the first sort of 5 years, I was more like, or slightly less a freelancer. And then after that, I kind of became more like, saw myself as more like a business, because I was working more direct with direct clients and more completing a full service production for them instead of just sort of only doing sort of the animation element of it. I mean, I was happy to work either way that other people wanted to work with me. But yeah, compared to just doing a little, just the animation element of something, compared to then for a business or helping organize a copywriter for their script, organizing a voiceover for them, you know, I was becoming like a micro business really. And then I started to change as I had accepted and acknowledged that I was a business. I think I changed the way I presented myself as well, on my presence online or my presence when I went to networking events. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting though, isn't it? Because even if you start doing one thing or just one part of something, I think what's amazing is, especially for small businesses, things evolve, things change, and you kind of roll with that as well.
Mm.
And obviously going from sort of just doing one part of it, or going then sort of doing the whole full service and getting involved in the voiceover siding, getting plans together and strategies and deliveries so that you can do this entire process. But I think it's interesting that from my side anyway, again, we talk to a lot of businesses about producing content. And I think animation videos, it kind of scares people sometimes, or at least for client side of things, they're not sure, or they feel like it's a very big investment, or they don't like themselves to be on camera, or they don't think they've got an idea or a story to tell. How do you sort of come up with ideas when you're talking to somebody that thinks they might want to do some animation and they're kind of trying to explore what the different options are and different ways? What sort of things do you talk to them about?
Yeah. It's funny you should say that, actually, because most people do kind of come up to me saying, we want an animation, how much does it cost? Rather than saying, we want an animation, can you help us explore that? Or can you help us work out what we should be doing? It's really funny how people are just like, I just want to know how much it costs. And it is quite frustrating sometimes to try and, you know, get over that, if you get what I mean, because it's like, in a way, if that's all they're concerned about, then there's no point in us having a further conversation. But even if they don't use me and they go away with that little knowledge where I'm saying, well, what do you want to achieve, you know, and then let's look at that, and then I can give you a quote, and then at least they might be like, oh, right, I hadn't thought of that, you know, at least let's do that first. But one business was like, oh, you ask a lot of questions, don't you? And I was like, well, did you contact me for some advice? And he goes, no, I contacted you for a quote. So it's kind of funny in that respect, really. But what I am actually doing is a way of trying to support people more and help people with this is, first of all, I'm running a free 5-day challenge where I help and support people to plan their animation in 5 days, and they get a small task a day that will help them identify like their target audience, identify why they need animation, or you know what they want to achieve with the animation, and then try and identify some key messages for their animation and help guide them on doing some research for what kind of thing might look good for them. So at the end of it, they don't come away with an animation, but they do come away fully prepped, ready to commission an animator or do a DIY job if their budget is that challenging. So that means I can help more people, even those that have budget challenges. And also I'm trying to, this is my way around overcoming what I just said before, the kind of conversations I've been having is, okay, so how am I going to change this now and try and educate people better? So that's one of the things I'm doing to try and help support people and educate people a bit better on how they can use animation more effectively or design animation more effectively. That's one thing I'm doing. And then I'm also, one thing I wasn't doing before is I'm doing like 1 hour consultation video calls, so they can just do that with me, so we can really get into detail before they've actually properly committed to any kind of animation. I mean, they pay for that hour only. So, and then if they decide, oh, maybe animation will be in 6 months' time, then not now, let's do other things first and get ourselves ready, so sort of helping and advising them to spend their marketing budget a little bit better. Because I think sometimes, say, some businesses are really keen to do animation, but haven't thought about all of those reasons. So they might bulldoze forward before they're quite ready, because although you did say, some people get intimidated by animation, or some people get excited and carried away, because that's way more fun than trying to, write some white paper or write a case study. Coming up with something that's fun and moves around and is all creative seems way more fun. So maybe, some people get carried away. So hopefully I can help people with that. So those are a couple of things, packages or sort of products I've developed to try and help and support and overcome that. So it is, unfortunately, a lot of people come asking, how much? And those are the two things I've devised to try and help people with trying to wean out that creativity and what we can do, what we can achieve, and that sort of thing.
It's quite interesting that you're saying that, and it's happened to us recently, where somebody said to us about just, again, social media marketing, how much to run this. And we were like, that, how much to run what? And I was like, that it's kind of vague. And I guess the same thing is true with yourself. And when it does just come down to price, and if people do take it the wrong way when you start asking the questions, but you're like that, well, I'm trying to get a brief together. Unless somebody comes to you with an absolute fantastic brief that really does give you all the info, and then you can just go away and come back with a price for it. But otherwise, you're trying to understand, the industry that you work in, what sort of a video you're looking for, like you said, the objectives, or how long the video is going to be, or what it is that they're trying to achieve from it. All of those questions are really key to be able to understand whether or not you're a good fit, I'm guessing, as well, for them as much as they are for you.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely a mutual thing there. And I don't know whether some clients or prospects might think of it that way. They think it only is a one-way thing, whether I'm good enough for them. It's like, well, I'm trying to test you out too, mate. But certainly, I think you're right. It is a lot down to companies not knowing how to brief, or not being aware that should be what they're doing. So that 5-day thing or challenge I was telling you about, basically at the end of that, they'll basically have a brief. But I've avoided using that word because it's basically they'll have their brief written, because I felt like other businesses didn't know what I meant. So I don't really use that word. But I think that is the problem. Not the problem, the challenge at the end of the day is that, lots of companies don't properly know how to brief. And that's why they only know how, they're asking how much, because that makes sense to them. That's so, yeah.
Yeah, and it's something that's quite interesting. I think the more that they start working with either agencies, freelancers, or anything else, they start to kind of understand that actually it's not quite as simple as just how much. And if the only thing that you are looking at is purely price, then you're probably doing it wrong, to be honest with you, because the best people usually aren't the cheapest, obviously, and also there's a lot more that goes in behind it. Do you want to work with somebody that's trying to understand your objectives, your goals, your brand, what you're trying to achieve, or do you want to work with somebody that was £50 cheaper, for example?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, awesome. So in terms of how you go about marketing yourself, and I'm guessing you do it through a lot of animated videos, what are the ways that you found really work well for you in terms of actually reaching out to people?
So I'm dedicating a lot of my time to LinkedIn and sharing lots of content on LinkedIn. I share a variety of content, not just 100% animated video all the time. I do still share a variety of content. But I do like a talkie head video animation. So obviously loads of people on LinkedIn do talkie head videos, but mine is an animated character instead, using my voice. So I do that. And I'm also building up presence on Facebook, because I want to run my 5-day challenge through Facebook as well. So I do a lot of that. So it's kind of funny, because obviously some of the stuff I'm talking about on LinkedIn, I'm saying, yeah, go over to Facebook on my 5-day challenge, because I'm doing it in a group, and groups don't really work very well on LinkedIn, unfortunately. And I really, really wish they did, and they probably could have done, but it's just not worked out that way, because maybe, LinkedIn didn't know how to encourage people to use the groups, or know what they wanted from the groups. So then the users on LinkedIn didn't know what groups were for and were just going and pitching to each other and selling stuff to each other in these groups. So they're perhaps not as beneficial as they could have been. So I'm doing that. I also have a lot of these videos are all on YouTube, so I use YouTube quite a lot as well. And unfortunately, I don't have LinkedIn Live. That would be really good if I did, but I don't. And
it's coming soon. I don't have it either, but some of the other guys in my team do, so they're very happy lording that over me.
Oh, yeah. It's really weird how they decide that, isn't it? It's like a lottery or something. So, yeah. And I can do live video on LinkedIn. The animated character, sorry, I should explain. I can use her on live video as well, you see. So I can do live video on LinkedIn or on YouTube or whatever. But I've also been doing webinars, but really in some ways the live webinars aren't too different from a live video anyway. But I guess sometimes you're a bit more reliant on a PowerPoint presentation, and also presenting in person as well. I think it goes hand in hand. If I'm doing speaking more through video, that I could do more speaker events, and I've done a few that went really well. So I think I'd like to do a few more of them as well.
Nice, very good. Well, it sounds like you're all over the place, and in terms of on the platforms and the networks, and it seems to be working well for you. You've been doing this now for how long?
Since 2000. Well, freelance. I've been doing it since 2009, but I've been animating. That's been my skill set since 2003.
Fantastic. How did you get into it?
So animation was what I did at university. I did a BA in animation, and I got a job straight after I graduated at a company doing an animation company, and I worked for them as an animator. And I had been I did some work experience with them when I was in my second year at uni. So I got a job with them pretty much straight after graduating. So I was really lucky, and I think it also shows it was completely different times back then, about making myself sound like, that was a million years ago. Because it was literally like, as soon as I graduated, I got that job. And it was a wonderful job. That was brilliant. And that obviously gave me really good grounding for animation skills. For about 5 years I worked there before, unfortunately, I got made redundant, and which happened all around the credit crunch times.
Back in 2008.
Yeah, exactly. And that's when I became freelance. But then again, that was a complete learning curve for me, of course, because I thought, well, this will be all right, because the hard bit was getting and honing those really good animation skills, which is difficult, don't get me wrong, but it's just a whole new other skill to get the freelance skills, sort of hunting out the new business and having your business development strategy, as well as looking after your own marketing, as well as, because when you start out and it's just you, of course, like, you've got to spend your time building or working on your business as well as serving your clients, and that's can be really, really tough to get that balance, and it just can often be the feast and famine because of that cycle you kind of get trapped into, even if you're aware of it.
No, I agree completely. And it's very easy to talk about doing something. And then when you actually start doing it, especially when it's starting a business, going freelance, is then you're constantly on a learning curve. So after 11 years, I can honestly say I'm still learning on a day-to-day basis. There's always new things, new ways to look at things. There's new ways to evolve. There's ways to change. There's new skills to learn along the way. And again, like you mentioned, even if you just took one part of it, like, for example, your own marketing. Well, I look back quite a lot and think back to when we first started, what we were doing, and then you look at what we're doing today. So it's incredible to see how quick all of this is changing, evolving as a space. Has that been very similar in the animation world as well? Because obviously there's so many platforms out there to help you create content and for people to do it themselves as well. But have you found that the animation space itself is opening up and evolving quickly as well?
Yeah. I mean, definitely I've had to change and learn and carry on learning as I've been going, which is absolutely, of course, what you're supposed to do. But I think back when I first graduated and got that first job, and I was like, yes, mission accomplished. And I kind of thought that was it then. not that my learning was over, but the hard bit was over. So
it was just beginning.
Yeah. So yeah, just literally, as you were just literally saying, and the time that I got made redundant, it was credit crunch times, but it was also this exciting time where YouTube hadn't been going that long and Facebook hadn't been going that long, but businesses weren't quite getting their head around how they could use it. And I wasn't getting my head around how they could use it. I didn't know how to use YouTube. If only I knew then what I knew now, because, and I could have may have done some things completely differently and been a bit more ahead of the curve or whatever. But, it doesn't matter. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. But yeah, so I was learning about using YouTube for myself as well as for my clients, and the live video I was just telling you about. I had to learn that software because I didn't know how to do that before. So I've been learning that for about it was probably about 2 years ago I first started experimenting with it, and then probably in January was when I did my first video using it. So sort of doing that sort of live video and talky head type video, I've only really been doing that for a year, which kind of sounds crazy, but obviously I wanted to be able to do it animated and to have the software available to do it, and then to teach myself how to do it. It did take quite a bit of practice because obviously I was trying to practice in between serving the clients, so I just didn't properly prioritize it. But obviously I got there in the end because my character's been starring in quite a few videos now, and like I say, I'm really pleased that I'm able to do live video using it. I do a couple of appearances with me for real, not just through my animated character. And obviously, yes, I can hide behind her, but, I'm trying to showcase more of what I can do and the possibilities of animation.
I'm really intrigued by this live animated videos. How does that work? Is it kind of, in my head, I'm thinking, the way they film things like Gollum in Lord of the Rings or something like that. So are you literally like putting little points on your face so that the camera can recognize where or what you're doing or your movements, or how does it work?
Yeah, you got it, Chris. It's really similar to that. So I'm actually doing it using Adobe Character, and that software probably has been going possibly around 4 years. So they didn't always used to have it. And it basically, it has, of course, got its limits because all it can do is really map your face, not your body as such. So it uses the webcam to map your face. So you design your character and then it will animate the character by mapping your face and using the audio to change the mouths to make it lip sync. And you can animate the arms separately using, it's almost like going back to animating to controlling your character on a spectrum. So I'll have ZX will be left and right or something and things like that. So those trigger keys would then be a gesture that I've pre-animated and then programmed in. So you can see why it took a long time for me to get my head around it, because it was a long time to sort of you've got to set a lot of things up, but then once you've set it up, then that character's there to be reworked and reused on loads of different videos. So that's the good aspect of it, but it took me a while to set it up. So that was loads of fun experimenting with that and working with that. And I hope this doesn't veer off too much off point, but basically back in something like 2005 or 2006, I went on holiday to Disneyland in Florida. And I'd never been to Disneyland, and it was amazing. And we went back then. They didn't have loads and loads of Pixar related rides,
Yeah.
but a couple of the rides that I did go on that were Pixar was Mike's stand-up comedy show and also Crush's aquarium show. And basically, you went inside, and Mike was animated before my eyes, live, doing stand-up comedy, interacting with the audience. So he was saying his comedy jokes like a comedian would and going, "Hey, you," at the front or whatever, and "What do you think? What's your name?" And he was fully animated in front of my eyes, and I was like, how are they doing this? What have they done? What is this wizardry? What is this magic? But obviously, Gollum was around back then, but I hadn't put the two and two together that was how they were doing it, that someone was behind a screen in a full bodysuit and then they were able to, animate it and project it live for us. So it was brilliant. So that is that was the first time I saw it. And that is obviously the same, technology that's been then brought down to something that is more of a consumer level cost, because of course Disney, if they were like, we want to do this, they'll invest the money to make sure we want to do live animation, we're going to blow their minds, and they did it, and it blew my mind, but I'm not sure how much it blew other people's minds. You know what I mean? Because I was thinking, this is impossible, how are they doing it? Maybe other people were just like, oh, this is cool, I'm watching Mike on TV doing a stand-up comedy.
That's the beauty of it, though, isn't it? You're obviously so passionate about it as well, and you can hear that when you're talking about it and geeking out over it. But that's the lovely part about it. Like, for other people, it would have just been a bit of entertainment. For you, literally, it was sort of it starts making things turn around, or cogs start turning, and you start contemplating and trying to figure it out and trying to work systems out and everything else. But I guess, because I'm kind of thinking about this now, but I'm thinking that the animojis on iPhone, for example, I'm guessing that's kind of similar technology then.
Yeah, it must be. I haven't played around with that too much, but obviously there's loads more sort of animation available on Facebook and stuff like that. So they're really sort of going with that now. So yeah, it must be really, really similar stuff. And then obviously all the different Snapchat filters and things like that are all based on that kind of stuff. So more of the platforms are like using it and stuff like that. And and when LinkedIn give me my live video and stuff like that, I can go for it with my animated character on LinkedIn and stuff. So yeah,
I'm looking forward to that. It's I'm sure they're going to do it. LinkedIn, if anyone's listening, it'd be great. Just sort Kim out, please. Okay, fantastic. Right, we're going to wrap up. I have a question that I've been asking guests now for a little while, but what's your favorite personal social media platform?
So the reason why I go and kind of thinking, because I'm like, I like LinkedIn, but it is business. I use it for, and the reason why I like it is for business, not for nothing personal. But it must just be, it's nothing exciting. I like Facebook because no matter how you explore the other ones, at the end of the day, on Facebook, I'm talking to my family in America that I probably wouldn't get to talk to as much otherwise, and my cousin is deaf, so I can chat to him easily on Facebook, that I hadn't been doing before Facebook. I hadn't even met my cousins until about 2000 in person, since if it wasn't until about 2006. Then we were able to carry on that relationship straight away on Facebook. Otherwise it would have just been massive gaps before we see each other and stuff. So that's been awesome because of that.
No, that's awesome. The last few answers have pretty much all been Instagram. So I'm quite happy to hear somebody say something different. And yeah, I still am a believer in Facebook for both business and personal reasons. I think it's fairly solid, and as long as you're not one of those people that feels that they're stealing your soul or your data or whatever else it is in between, then I still think it's a very good platform and still has a lot of opportunities for people there. Okay, fantastic. Kim, where's the best place then for people to find you and to connect with you online? I'm guessing you're going to say LinkedIn, but...
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn. I think there's only myself and one other woman called Kim Emson on LinkedIn, and obviously I'm the only animator called Kim Emson on LinkedIn. So yeah, find me. And I do have my real picture on LinkedIn, not my little animated avatar, so you should be able to find me.
Okay, great. Well, we'll add the link as well for people. So anyone wants to have a chat with Kim about looking and exploring the opportunities for animation for your business, or even for yourself personally, just for fun, or create your own character maybe, then you'll be able to find on our website, and you'll be able to link with Kim. Kim, thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you for an amazing conversation and a lot of insight. And I'm actually now kind of excited to try and find out more information about live animation as well. But thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it. You've basically just indulged me. You allowed me to geek out and talk about stuff I love geeking out about. So that's been great, and stuff I'm passionate about as well. So,
well, I was about to say, no one can question your passion for animation now.
Okay, cool. Thanks again. And I'm looking forward to hearing what comes out on the podcast. And obviously I listen to your podcast anyway, so I'm looking forward to carrying on listening to your episodes.
Well, thank you very much. We're gonna keep making them as long as people keep listening, so that seems like a good deal.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you soon.
Cool. Thanks, Chris. See ya.
The All About Digital Marketing podcast is brought to you by Social Inc., a distributed digital marketing agency specialised in delivering results through online campaigns. Whether it's content marketing, social media marketing, online advertising or web design, we've got you covered, from strategy through to delivery. If you're struggling with your digital marketing, get in touch today by simply visiting www.socialinc.co.